Next on Veterans in Transition. We're on location at Joint Base Andrews for the 5th Annual Aerospace and Aviation Competition Summit. American Legion Post 141 in Annapolis held an hour of power supporting issues facing women veterans. And this week's commentary with General Larry Spencer. All this and more next on Veterans in Transition.
Welcome to Veterans in Transition. Each week we travel around the region highlighting veteran-related news, events, and issues. My name is Miguel Sierra, U.S. Army veteran. In this episode, this year's Aerospace and Aviation competition at Joint Base Andrews hosted over 400 high schoolers who were exposed to various career fields such as aviation, medical, shipbuilding, and drone technology. Here's that story.
If you find a career that you love and you're passionate about, you'll never have to work a day in your life.
All right, the control system is really the brains of the operation. Just like you have a brain, right? The robot has a brain also.
What it's going to do is make sure that your ship is safe. So it's going to push a wave against it, and if it doesn't rock too much, it'll let you out. But the most important thing for the Navy, right, is to keep the sailors safe.
We do need females. I encourage females to look into aviation as a crew chief, mechanic, as a pilot. It is a great, rewarding career.
Today is the 5th Annual Aerospace and Aviation Competition Summit. So I believe we're going to have around 450 students from around the local community here. So we definitely want to make sure that that we are transparent and they understand the opportunities that exist in our career fields.
It wasn't too long ago, well maybe it was a little long ago, that I too was in your student status. And when I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, not too far from here, and for me, getting an opportunity to visit an installation such as Joint Base Andrews was pretty profound. And I knew that as a 10th grader, that joining the Air Force was going to be my ticket out of Baltimore.
I think these opportunities are significant when it comes to not just the Air Force, but our youth, and just giving them options, things that they did not know that they could do. I'll be honest, when I was coming through high school, I didn't know that there were options for me. And I think having events like this definitely gives the students something that they can look forward to and something that they can prep and plan for.
I think the medical simulator over there, that was the most impressive thing.
Why?
It was just cool to see how, people in that field can practice what they're doing with such realistic equipment.
I thought today was very informative on things like the Air Force, the military, what goes on, the procedures, and the various facets in the Air Force.
So if this is a career field that you're interested in coming into, a couple things. You got to be willing to fly, and you have to be comfortable speaking in front of people.
In addition, we have a modeling and simulation software called Fleet, where you can design your own ships in a video game, take them out and use them for different missions. We were talking about systems engineering, which has a lot of overlap with program management, where we are working with the electrical engineers, which we showed through our circuitry, mechanical engineers, which we showed through the boats, and really tying those things together at a systems level. And for us with the Navy, those systems have to be waterproof, they have to be airtight, they have to be cyber secure. So all those kind of career paths end up having a big role, both in the Navy as a governmental body, but also all the companies that support the Navy.
Our great nation depends on aviation for a huge number of reasons. Our pilots and our air crew move people, material, goods, mail, and other items all over the world. This creates jobs for millions of people here in the United States and hundreds of millions of people across the globe.
I feel like it was very informative, and I feel like I learned a lot, especially at that station over there. Like, I feel like I learned a lot about the different types of planes and what they do and like the different types of jobs you could get. It gave me like another option, like another avenue that I might be able to pivot to.
Well, I thought the event was really nice. It had different aspects and different things going on, so it kept me, entertained. And I like to see all the displays of the missiles and the helicopters and everything. It was really interesting, and I liked it a lot.
No matter what your talent base is, there is a skill set that one of these assets needs, or the units that these assets belong to needs. Within the Coast Guard, if you like to be on the water and you love cutters and boats, you can be stationed on any number of our larger cutters, which go up to 418 feet in length. And those tours of duty last anywhere from 2 to 3 years, and you will sail all over the world every time you're at sea for 2 to 3 months at a time.
We need aerospace physiologists to help maintain pilots and air crew who fly the planes and helicopters we need. We also need air traffic controllers who control and coordinate where the airplanes and helicopters fly safely. We need innovative thinkers who build and fly new systems like unmanned drones.
I'm just going around talking to the different, recruiters, learning more about the National Guard, and I'm actually interested now in joining it. So when I go to college, I'll join.
I also like how there were different stations and there were different things to learn, and I also liked how we got to sit in the helicopter.
What I was doing here today was showing how we use medical simulation to benefit the different professions, both the doctors, the nurses, the surgeons, also our medical techs, and even outside that, where I've worked with the fire department, the police department, and our helicopter squadron, and how we can use our medical simulation to benefit them and show them the different career fields that are possible, both in simulation and in the medical field.
Today we're excited to be here. We have 3 IBMers doing workshops across 3 different technical careers and technology spaces. So we have someone doing an AI workshop, someone doing a robotics workshop, and then someone talking about the business of tech. At the end of the day, the topics that we're talking about, AI, machine learning, robotics, this is the future to the extent that they want to position themselves and be ready for the future. That's what we're here today to deliver as a message.
I think it was a good event. I think what impressed me the most is that they have some models here, like the missiles and the engine here from the F-16. Yeah, that's one of my biggest takeaways because I want to be an aviator.
I got a chance to talk to different people, different people on active duty, and I learned some stuff, got some good advice that I can use in the future.
I like that we even got the opportunity to see all of this stuff because not a lot of places get to take field trips like this. And I want to say my favorite part was the part where we learned about CPR and stuff because I like the medical field and I'm debating on if I want to join that field.
So here at Joint Base Andrews, we are constantly practicing, constantly preparing so that we can perform at our absolute best to defend our nation. Use these as opportunities to develop that passion and that love for that career that you want to pursue.
Today was very, very enlightening, honestly, and exciting. I personally want to join the Air Force, just to be a part of this and to see that there's so many different aspects of the Air Force. It's not just about flying planes or building planes, and you can do so many different things, and you have to, it's a lot of things that contribute to it. And honestly, it's been enlightening, inspiring, and fulfilling. I'm excited.
My name is Karen Thompson Young. I'm a retired Chief Warrant Officer 3 from the United States Army. And I am proud and honored to celebrate all women who have served and all women who continue to serve. Thank you.
I'm often asked by people who've read my book, Dark Horse, which leadership principle was most important in my leadership roles. Now, although it's hard to pin down just one, clearly, for me, leadership by walking around was probably the most productive. First, there is no substitute for looking people in the eye and talking to them about the vision and goals of the organization. Letters, emails, posters are good. But in my view, going face to face with the people in your organization is invaluable. Second, I got to see their workspaces and experience the problems and issues they were dealing with in real time. I was able to assist with problems my folks had been wrestling with for weeks, simply by cutting through the red tape. I also occasionally discovered issues that I was not aware of that needed my immediate attention. Finally, and perhaps most important, I got to know the people in my organization. Units and corporations are made up of people. Nothing gets done without people. If the folks in your unit believe that you care about them and are genuinely interested in their well-being, they will follow you anywhere. As a final note, most of the people in your organization will love having you visit their workspaces, with perhaps one exception, and that's their first-line supervisors. Believe it or not, I had first-line supervisors complain that I was finding out more information about their people that they supervise than they did. My answer to them was always the same. If you want to know your folks as well as I do, then go out and do some leadership walking around yourself.
Greetings. I am Chief Warrant Officer 5, retired Nicole Woodyard. I would like to thank all of the supporting women of our nation, and especially our sisters in arms. Thank you for your service and thank you for your support.
Well, I initially went into the military in 1976. It was the bicentennial year. And I knew that my parents couldn't afford to send twin boys to school. And so we sort of had a plan. And so my twin brother and I, we joined the military so we can get an opportunity to pay for our college education. One of the rewarding things that I've done while I was in the military, I was stationed at 7 different bases. One included my first base. I was stationed in Selma, Alabama at Craig Air Force Base, which was surprising to me. I was born in Birmingham, Alabama. So I was stationed at Yokota Air Base in Japan from 79 to 81, which was a rewarding assignment for me because I turned 21 while I was there, and my twin brother was in the Navy, and his ship came in, and we ended up celebrating our 21st birthday in Tokyo. We have a partnership with the Air Force Sergeant Association. Their executive director, Mr. Keith Reed, has allowed us the opportunity to come over here 3 days a week when we have veterans or surviving spouses that can't get to us on those days that we're open. So we try to make sure that we're there to serve them, so that way you don't have to go downtown DC, you don't have to go to Baltimore. So we have something right here in Prince George's County.
I initiated going into the service because I was actually attending college at Trenton State, which is now the College of New Jersey. After 2 years, I no longer could afford to return back to college. So I immediately went to the recruiter's office and joined the Army. My father, he served, was active duty for the Army. Then he went on to become a reservist. So over the years, as you know, it takes longer to retire from the reserves. So I actually retired before him in 2012. Started out in the Army as a 74 Delta, then transitioned with the realignment to a 25 Bravo, but I actually transitioned to become a warrant officer. I was a CW4, retired as a Chief Information Systems Officer. Today was the first day that we did an event from the Women's Veteran Committee at this capacity, meaning involving claims with it, but I found that it was very fruitful. One thing I would like to say is we did have more women veterans come out, because it's hard for women veterans to come out, because 9 times out of 10, they tend to think that their issues aren't heard. So I believe today, women veterans left feeling that they have accomplished something.
I was in the 101st Airborne Division, Vietnam veteran. I was over in Nam from July 1965 to September 1965. It was challenging in as much as the letters that I had written to my comrades that I left there. When I arrived home, the letters came back verified, stamped, verified deceased. And this paid a mental toll on me. When I ETS out of Da Nang, Vietnam. We were in the jungles and the forests, and they just brought us out, bearded, smelling, and everything, you know. They just gave us one clip in the M16, and they told us that if we were fired upon, just keep going, because we will not receive any help at all, because we were going home and the rest of them were staying there. Dog Tag is really a book that's from my experience in Vietnam, where I would see Vietnamese children who looked like us, and they were really happy to see us, concomitant with the fact of the relationship that was fostered between the soldiers, the American soldiers, and the Vietnamese, not only the women but the men as well, and the family lifestyle. The book, Dog Tag, the play Dog Tag, emerges from the fact a child being born, being birthed by an African American soldier during the Vietnam War and a Vietnamese young lady, and his trek, his journey to find not only his father, but to find himself. Now, the dog tags is actually a military item, and this item is used in order to identify soldiers, not only in battle, but off battlefields. For example, my number is RA1377857, and it has my blood type, which is O.
I believe that play is a great production. It's a great opportunity to be a part of something that is real and encouraging. Well, for me, it has a little personal guideline. My father was a military vet, was stationed in Vietnam, and so I can relate, for the most part, exactly the meaning and the understanding, the type of background of the players that are involved.
Out in Annapolis, American Legion Post 141 hosted the Conduit Care Coordination and Claims Clinic, in which I had the honor of hosting the Hour of Power panel in support of issues facing women veterans. Here are the highlights from that panel.
What efforts do you guys feel like you would like to see from the veteran community as far as being more supportive of your own journeys?
Since I have the mic, I'll go first. So I have a personal experience when it came to the VA and getting the help that I needed with an injury. So as far as my experience with the VA, when just before I was about to get out, I had injured my shoulder. I kept going back to the VA and telling them that something was wrong. I had frozen shoulder, wasn't able to move my arm at all. But because I was looked at as an MST survivor, they kept telling me that my pain was somatic, that it was just in my head. So for months, I had to advocate for myself that something was wrong. I eventually got a CAT scan done, and the doctor comes in and he says, "There's no scar tissue damage from your surgery, so we're not sure why you're having these issues." And I looked him in the face and said, "I never had surgery." So one, they had mixed up my CAT scan with someone else's, and then I was being denied the opportunity to advocate for myself that something was wrong, and they kept saying it was in my head, so they kept sending me to mental health. The one thing that kept sticking out in my head is I had to keep advocating for myself, knowing that I knew my body. Well, eventually they redid my CAT scan, and I tore my bicep tendon completely from my arm. So for months, I was walking around with this injury. This could have led to me never wanting to go back to the VA again. I did eventually go to a civilian doctor. I was not going to trust them to do the surgery at all. So I went to a civilian doctor. But it's those type of experiences that I keep hearing and that I've had of my own, where we have to advocate for ourselves. The one thing I would like to see changed is really, especially when it comes to Black women in pain, is understanding that if I tell you my pain is a 10, it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be falling all over the floor or in incredible pain. If it's a 10 for me, it's a 10. And believe me the first time I tell you.
Thank you.
Definitely, I can agree that we definitely need some more resources and understanding and just acknowledgement of our service as women. Oftentimes, as women, we don't even get acknowledged. So I'm married, and mail comes to my house addressed to Command Sergeant Major Todd Wilson. Well, my husband has never served, ever. He hadn't even gone to MEPS.
Hey, y'all heard how she said that? Ever?
So,
Ever.
so, number one is just acknowledgement that females have been serving for years. We have been serving since the Revolutionary War. We served even disguised as men, to help our fellow brethren. So what it takes a lot of times is that our brothers need to also acknowledge that we are here. We're not here trying to take over from you. We're here in the fight with you. So we're here with you. So make sure that if you are a male and you serve, don't ever try to disregard your female battle buddy. That's where it starts. So, truthfully, I have, two battles right here. One Master Sergeant and another fellow sergeant that retired. And these are my MGLO brothers. And they will tell you every day that I go to bat for them just like they go to bat for me. So if they're in a fight, I'm in there with them. And I don't expect when I get in a fight for them to run and turn coat and say, that's the girl fight. Oh, heck no, you better get your butt up in here. But again, exactly, right? So number one is just we have to have male advocates advocate for us. Females are only about 20% of the military force right now, but we are growing. We are the fastest growing demographic of military veterans. So we do need to have our male advocates step up with us. And VA does need to do better with making sure that they are offering services for women. There are a lot of VA clinics across the country that do not even have female doctors available to even support and help women with female issues that we get from serving in the military. So some of the issues that we become and we, get as women come from us serving, but they're not doctors there to help support us to make sure that we're better as veterans. So we go through the trauma twice, sometimes 3 or 4 times. We go through it twice. We can't get help for it. We've gotten it in the military, and then when we transition out, people look as if we're not supposed to have problems because, oh, you're a girl. Did you really serve? Yes, I did.
Gunny, how do you feel? What has been your experience as a black female veteran? You started this. Don't look away now. You started this.
And I can finish it also. Is it the mic? Can you hear me? Okay. All right. It's kind of wild being up here. But I can speak about female veterans. For one, my wife is one. She did 4 years in the Navy. And my sister is a retired Sergeant First Class out of the U.S. Army. She did, I believe it's at least 6 tours in Iraq and a tour in Afghanistan before she retired. And I talk to her on a daily basis. And so I can understand what she's going through. And the other part of that is that, my sister is also a lesbian. So then I talk to her about everything. And she talks to me about the things that she's going through and what she went through in the Army and with some of her commands. And so like I said, I can speak on behalf of some of the things they've gone through. And when I address a female veteran about her benefits, I ask the hard questions. I asked that question about MST. I asked the question, have you ever had an abortion? I asked the question, have you ever had a miscarriage? And because a lot of them don't know that if it happened to you in the service, you need to write it down. It's in your health record. You can claim that. And so I'm not afraid to ask the hard questions to female veterans. I stand up for them. Like I said, my wife and my sister, they're both vets. So, and it doesn't offend me. It enrages me when I see someone diss of another veteran of any type. So I'm that guy that's going to fight the battle for those that are afraid to fight for themselves. And I'll leave it at that right now.
Appreciate you, boss. Thank you.
So my experience has been, hello? Okay. So, I'm actually from Michigan, and coming to Maryland was a unique experience for me because I didn't really understand the areas and how things happen. So I didn't have a pleasant transition with the VA, but what I did do was advocate. I communicated. I got in everybody's face, and until I got an answer. I didn't take no for an answer. It was it's a hard transition when you come out of the military and you don't know how to maneuver this system, and especially when a lot of things are going on. But I think what's really important for any veteran is communication. I think that the awareness piece is not here. You know, when we're in the military, we're not heard, right? We're not heard, we're not seen. And it's better for us to be quiet than say anything, right? And so I think on the male side, they don't really understand. And a lot of laws that's being implemented are based on the fact of a male perspective, not a female perspective. And that's why a lot of things are the way that they are. So for me, awareness is big, and communication. Because if we're communicating what we need and want, then that's going to change stuff. But if we have no conversations, then nothing can change.
That's all for this edition of Veterans in Transition. We ask that you like, follow us, and share on social media. If you have a story to tell, reach out to us at info@vetsintransition.com. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, I'm Miguel Sierra.